The first time Adrienne Hale saw her, the world seemed to pause. She descended from the sky in a vessel shaped like a falling star, its silver surface reflecting the sunlight in dazzling streaks. It had been 3 years since the Cerealians first appeared in Earth's orbit, and humanity had already endured the initial shock. The silent ships hovering over every continent, the urgent debates of invasion versus diplomacy, the unprecedented broadcasts that showed impossible alien cities. The Cerealians did not arrive with weapons blazing. They came as seekers of dialogue, their technology transmitting perfect translations of every language on Earth simultaneously. They were older, wiser, and infinitely more advanced than humans, yet calm in a way that was almost unsettling. The day Queen Alindra stepped onto Earth's soil, the world seemed to hold its breath. The reinforced platform outside Geneva glimmered under the morning sun, prepared to support the immense weight of her ship. Adrienne, an exolinguist called in to help decode subtle nuances in alien communication, found herself among diplomats, scientists, and cultural advisors. She had never expected to be standing 10 meters from the sovereign of a species that had observed humanity for decades. The hatch of the vessel irised open. Queen Alindra emerged. She was taller than any human woman, nearly 7 feet, moving with a grace that made every step seem effortless. Her skin shimmered like liquid metal, pearlescent silver with veins of faint blue light tracing beneath the surface, pulsing like the gentle heartbeat of a living star. Her eyes, deep amethyst and elongated, seemed to hold entire galaxies. A living crystal circlet grew along her brow, framing her face in intricate arcs. Flanked by 2 advisors in similar but simpler attire, she walked forward, her gaze sweeping across the crowd, and for a brief, impossible second, lingering on Adrienne. "People of Earth," she spoke. Her voice carried without amplification, and translations rippled instantly through embedded resonance devices. "We come not as conquerors, but as seekers." Adrienne's heart thudded. 2 minds met across species, hers human, fragile yet full of curiosity, Alindra's alien, ancient, yet studying humanity with an intensity that left Adrienne unsettled. Months passed. Diplomatic channels opened, trade negotiations followed, and somehow, Adrienne became the primary linguistic consultant for the Cerealian royal court. The embassy that arose outside Geneva was less a building and more a living organism, its walls shifting hue with the sunlight, floors humming faintly with energy. Within, Alindra's interest in human language grew. Private sessions became common, the Queen fascinated by idioms, metaphors, and especially the human understanding of love. "You describe love as surrender," Alindra said one evening, examining Shakespearean sonnets projected in holographic form. "Yet also as battle." Adrienne chuckled. "We are complicated," she replied. "And yet you survive," Alindra noted, her luminous veins pulsing softly. There was something in these private sessions, a softness behind the regality, a curiosity that could not be satisfied by diplomacy alone. Then came the announcement that shook the world. A joint press conference was called to discuss expanded cooperation between Earth and the Cerealian Empire. Adrienne stood near the back, ready to assist with translations. Alindra stepped forward, her circlet glinting beneath the lights. "In the interest of strengthening unity between our civilizations," she declared, "I propose a symbolic union." Murmurs swept through the room. Adrienne froze. "The individual I have chosen is Adrienne Hale," Alindra continued. The world fractured into noise. Reporters shouted. Diplomats whispered. Cameras swiveled to capture Adrienne's stunned face. Protective security whisked her away into a private chamber. Minutes later, Alindra entered alone. "What have you done?" Adrienne demanded. "I have acted in accordance with Cerealian custom," Alindra said calmly. "This is not a proposal as you define it. It is a declaration of intent." "You can't just decide this for me," Adrienne said. "You are both," Alindra replied cryptically. "A person, and a part of a greater purpose. This union would secure peace for generations." "And what about me?" Adrienne asked, voice trembling. Alindra's posture stiffened. "I am afraid," she admitted. "Afraid of loving something fragile." Her eyes shimmered with a rare vulnerability. "Your species does not endure as mine does. To bind myself to a human is to embrace inevitable loss. Adrian softened. Then don't bind yourself. Let it be choice, not obligation. A silence fell over the chamber. For the first time, Alindra removed her cirlet, placing it nearby. In Cerealian culture, this signified vulnerability, a gesture reserved for the most private moments. I do not know how to navigate this, Alindra admitted. I have commanded fleets, negotiated with hostile species, yet this is personal. Adrian stepped closer. You asked how you could marry a human. Maybe the real question is whether you can love one without controlling the outcome. Her breath caught. The luminous veins along her arms flickered rapidly. And if I cannot? Then you do not marry me. The simplicity of it seemed to shake her. After a long pause, her expression shifted. Not calculation. Not fear. Acceptance. I will not alter your biology, Alindra said finally. Nor will I declare union without your consent. Adrian met her gaze. I will not refuse you. But I will not surrender myself either. You choose this. Alindra whispered. I choose you, Adrian said. Not for peace, not for strategy, but because somewhere along the way, I fell in love with the being who asks impossible questions about Shakespeare and fears mortality. A soft sound escaped Alindra, almost fragile. Mutual choice, she murmured, is rare. Maybe it is time for something new. She extended her hand, not as command, but as invitation. Adrian took it. A gentle current passed through her, not overpowering, only present. We will face mortality together, Alindra said. And the Empire? Adrian asked. They will adapt, she replied. They always do. The ceremony was held in orbit aboard the Cerealian flagship, Earth and the stars as witnesses. There was no genetic binding, no irreversible alteration, only vows, spoken in 2 languages. I do not claim you, Alindra said. I choose you. I choose you, Adrian replied, heart pounding. Later, alone, Alindra traced her finger along Adrian's cheek. You are fragile, she murmured. So are you, Adrian replied. Perhaps that was why it worked. Fragility did not weaken them, it made the choice of love more profound. Years passed. Humanity and the Cerealian Empire grew closer. Trade flourished. Cultural exchange deepened. Their marriage became less spectacle and more symbol. Adrian aged, Alindra did not, at least not visibly. The difference in lifespans loomed like a shadow, yet fear no longer ruled. Does it frighten you? Adrian asked one evening as they watched Earth rotate below. Yes, Alindra admitted. But fear no longer rules me. When I am gone, I will carry you in memory. And I will not regret choosing a finite love over infinite solitude, Adrian said. Alindra smiled faintly. How can I marry a human? You already did, Adrian replied. And for the first time, there was certainty. The Queen's breaking point had not been about incompatibility, it had been about surrendering control. When she finally did, when she chose love without rewriting biology or destiny, she strengthened her throne not with power, but with trust, vulnerability, and the courage to love a human. Months had passed since the union of Adrian Hale and Queen Alindra became public. On the surface, diplomacy hummed like a well-oiled machine. Trade routes were established, cultural exchanges flourished, and humanity was slowly integrating Cerealian technology into its infrastructure. Yet behind the polished veneer of protocol, tension simmered like molten metal. Adrian had expected the challenges of communication, of navigating 2 entirely different species. What she hadn't anticipated were the human reactions: fear, envy, suspicion. World leaders whispered in backrooms, asking if the Union gave humanity too little leverage, if they had simply become pawns in an alien empire's long game. Social media, once fascinated with the spectacle of the wedding, had descended into vitriol. Hashtags like #QueenOrConqueror and #HumanPawn trended worldwide. Alindra, meanwhile, remained a pillar of composure, but Adrian knew the subtle cracks in her perfection. Even she could not entirely shield herself from the scrutiny of her court. Cerealian advisors questioned her decision. The most senior of them, Vera, had served as Alindra's second-in-command for over a century. Her amethyst eyes, hard and discerning, regarded Adrian with careful measurement. "You have brought disruption to our traditions," Vera said one evening, her voice echoing in the crystalline halls of the embassy. The light-shifting walls mirrored their emotions, bathing them in pale azure. "Choosing freely is unprecedented. You risk both the Empire and our sovereignty." Adrian met her gaze calmly. "I did not choose disruption. I chose honesty and mutual consent." Vera's gaze sharpened. "Do not mistake tolerance for weakness. The Empire does not forgive easily." Alindra, standing behind Adrian, placed a hand on her shoulder. The warmth of the touch reminded Adrian that she was no longer alone. "Our traditions evolve," Alindra said, her voice even, yet carrying an unyielding authority. "I am still sovereign. We will adapt." Adaptation, Adrian realized, was far easier said than done. The first public test of their union came with the arrival of the delegation from Vorel, a neighboring Cerealian system that had remained distant and aloof. Their envoy was led by Supreme Chancellor Kale, a calculating figure whose reputation for political maneuvering preceded him. He arrived in a vessel designed to resemble a soaring spire of crystal, its corridors echoing with an eerie resonance that unsettled the human aides. Adrian accompanied Alindra to the reception chamber, her heart hammering. She had never met Kale, but she had heard the stories, an uncompromising diplomat, unafraid to wield influence to sway outcomes in favor of his system. And now, he would witness the union he might consider sacrilegious. The doors opened, and Kale entered, his presence filling the chamber with a subtle but undeniable tension. His skin shimmered faintly like polished obsidian, veins tracing patterns in emerald light. His gaze, piercing and analytical, landed first on Alindra, then shifted deliberately to Adrian. "You have chosen a human," Kale said, his voice smooth yet edged with skepticism. "For what purpose? Political gain? Weakness?" Alindra's posture remained regal. "Neither. I chose companionship. Mutual choice is the foundation." Kale's eyes narrowed. "You risk the stability of your empire for sentiment." "Stability is not a cage," Alindra replied. "It is a responsibility. And the responsibility of leadership includes learning from new perspectives." Adrian felt a surge of pride. She could see it in Alindra's stance, unshakable, yet human in her subtle gestures of vulnerability. It was the balance Adrian had first seen when the Queen removed her surlet months ago, strength tempered by choice. The audience with Kale quickly shifted from formalities to a tense negotiation. Human translators worked furiously, but Adrian noticed that the Cerealian resonance devices weren't enough. Subtleties of language, tone, and intent were nearly impossible to capture fully. Kale leaned toward Adrian. "And you," he said, voice low, "how does it feel to be both a human and the face of an empire?" Adrian did not flinch. "It feels like responsibility, like being understood in ways most humans never are. And fear. I carry it, but it is tempered by trust." Kale studied her. He was not accustomed to such candor. "Trust, dangerous for your kind," he said. "Emotions cloud judgment. Or they can sharpen it," Adrian replied evenly, her eyes locking with his. The tension did not break, but something subtle shifted. Kale retreated into silence, a concession Adrian could not yet name. Back in the private quarters of the embassy, Adrian and Alindra faced a more personal challenge. "I can feel the whispers," Adrian said, voice heavy with exhaustion. "Not just from humans, from Cerealians too. They are questioning us, questioning me." Alindra's amethyst eyes softened. "And yet here you stand. I chose you despite it." Adrian approached, her hand finding Alindra's. "I fear what comes next. For both of us. For Earth." Alindra's veins glowed faintly brighter. "Fear does not dictate action. Love, when free, guides it." It was not just romantic love. Adrian understood now that her bond with Alindra symbolized something larger. A bridge between worlds, fragile yet unbreakable, a choice of agency over destiny. Weeks later, reports surfaced of unrest in human governments. Some leaders demanded a re-evaluation of the Union, questioning whether Adrian's influence over the Cerulean court compromised Earth's sovereignty. Protesters gathered outside the embassy, waving banners and shouting slogans. Security measures escalated, and Adrian found herself confined to portions of the embassy under watchful eyes. Alindra visited daily, bringing briefings, reading poetry, and sometimes simply standing in silence with Adrian. Those quiet moments became their refuge, the only space where neither power nor politics intruded. "Do you ever regret it?" Adrian asked one evening, the glowing walls casting shifting shadows across their faces. Alindra shook her head. "Regret is for those who cannot see possibility. I see it with you. A chance to redefine connection. To defy the fear that has ruled me for centuries." Adrian leaned closer. "And if the Empire cannot accept us?" Alindra smiled faintly, a hint of mischief in her luminous gaze. "They will learn. Humans adapt. We do as well. This is the future, Adrian. We forge it together." Tensions escalated when an unknown faction attempted a sabotage of the embassy's energy core, threatening the safety of both humans and Ceruleans. Adrian, normally shielded from operational matters, found herself thrust into the crisis. Guided by Alindra, she worked alongside Cerulean engineers, deciphering alien schematics and stabilizing the failing systems. During the hours of danger, Adrian observed Alindra's leadership not as a queen commanding subjects, but as a partner directing allies, vulnerable yet unyielding. When the crisis passed, and the lights of the embassy stabilized once more, Adrian realized something profound. Their union was not just symbolic. It was practical, resilient, and alive. In the aftermath, Adrian and Alindra retreated to the observation chamber overlooking the Alps. Snow blanketed the peaks, silent and eternal. "You handled the crisis well," Alindra said quietly. "You guided me," Adrian replied. A pause stretched between them. Then, softly, Alindra said, "I am learning. Learning to let others share the weight of responsibility. Not everything must rest on my shoulders." Adrian smiled. "And I am learning to trust the decisions of a queen, even when they terrify me." Their hands found each other, fingers entwining. The empire outside could rage and falter, but here, in this fragile space between species, they had chosen mutual understanding, trust, and love. Months turned to years. Adrian aged in small increments while Alindra remained timeless, yet the disparity no longer felt like a shadow. They built initiatives to integrate human and Cerulean societies, joint academies, trade alliances, and cultural festivals celebrating both species. Children of diplomats grew up learning both languages, sharing both myths. Yet challenges persisted. Rival Cerulean houses questioned Alindra's decision, seeking influence. Human leaders debated whether Adrian's union placed them in a delicate position of partial dependence on an alien empire. Intrigue simmered, but each trial reinforced their bond. They faced it together, hand in hand, minds aligned through dialogue and shared understanding. One evening, as Earth turned slowly below the orbiting embassy, Adrian and Alindra sat in silence. "Do you ever fear the time will come when I am gone?" Adrian asked softly. Alindra's luminous veins pulsed slowly. "Yes," she admitted. "But I no longer let fear dictate my choices. Mortality is a companion, not a cage. We endure together, as long as we can. That is enough." Adrian nodded. "And I will not regret choosing a finite life alongside you." Alindra tilted her head, a smile curving her lips. "Then let us continue forging this path. One step at a time, across worlds and centuries, until every challenge has been met." As the stars twinkled beyond the transparent walls, they clasped hands, their union no longer a spectacle or a symbol, but a testament. A testament that courage, love, and mutual choice could bridge the unthinkable gap between species, between worlds, and between hearts. And in that quiet, powerful moment, Adrian realized the truth. The greatest alliances are forged not through fear, strategy, or inevitability, but through understanding, trust, and the willingness to stand together in the face of all odds.